When OpenAI ChatGPT owners came out with a $200 a month pro plan in December of 2024, I bought it that day. I used it through last December. Then I got what I needed with a $20 a month plan. I moved over to Claude Opus 4.6 now.
Hey everybody, Chris G here, Hard Hat the CEO, and welcome back again today. We're going to talk about some things that is a little profit leaking in your company. We want to resolve those issues. And to help me do that is Russell Van Brocklen, all the way from Albany, New York. Russell, thank you for your time today. I'm glad you're here.
Thanks for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into how we can identify some issues that leak profits?
Sure. I mean, because what happened to me is happening to up to 20% of your employees. A lot of us that are neurodiverse who are dyslexic, ADD, or ADHD go into construction because we're good with our hands and we're just very good at the actual work, not at the paperwork. So just, my background, I started off with this problem myself when it was the late 90s, and I wanted to know how laws work. So I signed up for the New York State Assembly internship at the end of college. Problem is, I showed up with a first grade reading and writing level, which would not work like for what you're facing, because back then you had the assembly member, the chief of staff, who was an intern a year or two before, most likely, and then the intern, that's all you had. And there's a lot of paperwork you had to do. And I would have completely botched it all. So they came up with massive accommodations, put me in the Majority Leaders Program and Counsel's office, where they had 3 administrative assistants who could help improve my reading and writing skills. And that worked great. I gave an oral presentation instead of an actual written report. That was standard accommodation. When they sent back the recommended grades of 15 credits of A-, the political science department at SUNY Center at Buffalo decided they didn't like the accommodations the state came up with. They hated it. So they flunked me instead of an A- for 15 credits.
Oh.
Yeah, I literally went to law school to audit classes. My second day of contracts, I had to teach myself to read very rapidly. I was called on. And unlike everybody else that just couldn't answer anything, the professor just bulldozed them. I responded arguing with the professor for 15 minutes as their equal. I learned to read within a month. I learned to write within a couple of years, got the state to fund my dyslexia research project. And I took a bunch of highly dyslexic, highly motivated high school juniors and seniors with middle school writing skills, and in one class period for a day for the school year, increased their writing to average of entering graduate students. Yeah, they jumped 8 grade levels in less than in a year.
So is like, for example, newspapers still written to the 5th grade reading level? That's what it used to be.
They're saying 6th to 8th, which is where these kids were.
They've moved up. Okay.
No, they've moved up to having the writing skills of a college graduate.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, they all went on to college. They all graduated. GPAs of 2.5 to 3.6 cost New York State taxpayers less than $900 a kid. We were literally 3x as successful as the best dyslexic college for less than 1% of the cost. So that's my starting point in this.
Sure.
So when you're in the construction industry, I just want to let you know what you're talking about when you're dealing with the neurodiverse. This is the best book in the field, called Overcoming Dyslexia by Dr. Shelley Shiewicz from Yale. This is what you're up against. This is your brain. Do you see that massive neural activity?
Yeah.
That's where the reading and writing occurs when you're trying to fill out things for the paperwork for your construction business.
So for those who are not watching, there are 2 places in the brain where your
this is for the normal brain.
Oh, that's for the normal brain. It's in the back side of your brain.
Yeah. You see all that massive neural activity in the back part of the brain for a normal person?
Yep.
It's just massive. So your normal employees can fill out the paperwork.
Yeah.
But for the dyslexic or ADHD, you see how there's literally nothing going on back here?
Right.
Okay. That's why they're screwing up the paperwork.
But there's no activity.
Yeah, there's just nothing there. Now, the front part of the brain is about 2.5 times overactive.
Ah, yes.
Okay. Now, how that usually I equate that to grad school, but when you're dealing with the trades,
Hmm.
I can give you an example of one of my students. His name was Adam. He was a 19-year-old high school senior, so he was held back a couple of times.
Hmm.
His teachers described him as a freaking genius, but his writing was so horrific that Dr. Holichka, who evaluated all the writing, said he should be banned from college. Professors shouldn't have to deal with this stuff. So we took him from just horrific writing to above average of entering grad students.
All right. So I got a couple questions here.
Sure.
First question, you mentioned 20% earlier. Are you thinking that 20% of the people is
Up to 20% are neurodiverse that you're going to be dealing with? Yeah.
Okay. Second question, you mentioned writing. Are you talking about the quality of writing, or when I say quality, the readability, legibility, I guess would be the word, legibility, or how they word?
They're writing essentially randomly placed misspelled words.
Okay.
I mean, it's a complete lack of the ability to communicate and to write. Okay. So just, what happened to Adam, we got him up to the 70th percentile of entering grad students. He did the associate degree thing for his trade. He went into, those Boilermakers unions that keep schools warmed up, those big boilers.
Yes.
They were under contract to get this thing fixed. And they called him in off of vacation. He came in, took him a day and a half, and he apologized for everybody for taking so long. They're under a fixed cost contract. They couldn't figure out the problem for a month.
Wow.
Okay. So when you're talking about your neurodiverse employees, when you're looking to solve really hard problems, how to do things we literally have 2.5 times the neural activity in that part of our brain. We are academic and practical specialists. We are not generalists. We're real good in a real small area.
Because it's up front of your brain?
Because it's up front, and that is just what we are.
Sure.
We are specialists. We do not like doing general stuff. Okay. And a lot of us are really good with our hands. I'm not one of them. I just know how to manage them. Okay. They're gifted as all heck with their hands. So they make outstanding employees, but they keep botching the paperwork. And that's the problem you're going to run into. So when you're looking at how to solve this solution, what I'm about to tell you did not exist even a year ago on how to best handle this. So I want you to imagine that these are the people you might want to suspect. You send them out to do a job. You have to fill out your standard paperwork, and it comes back as a bunch of unorganized mess. The things are in the wrong place. It's a complete disaster. Then the owner has to go out, redo it. Customers are angry. It's just a huge problem. Problem you're going to run into is you're dealing with a class of people that are what you call a protective class. So I want to explore a way that not only makes this gives you a much more cost-effective solution, it keeps the employees with their dignity, makes them much better employees, and just works for everybody at a much higher level.
Well, before we get into the solution,
okay,
and you mentioned how you could identify those people. How do you approach them? Do they know they had the problem?
Oh, they know, and they've been hiding it their entire life.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how do you? I'm assuming they're hiding it because they're embarrassed.
They're incredibly embarrassed.
So how do you address that? You mean take them aside, or how's that work? Or how do you recommend doing that?
Pretty much, here's how you do it to keep their dignity and to stay out of court and to stay out of the government's regulation hurdles. I would wait until there's been a mess up, okay, with a written form. Then I'd pull them aside, closed door meeting, nobody interrupting. Unless it's a darned emergency, tell your assistant to take the phone off the hook. It's one of those really important things. You don't want to be interrupted. All right. And what you ask them is, I see that there's been an issue with the paperwork. Just let me ask a couple of questions just to see what's going on. First thing you want to do is ask them what their speciality is, their area of extreme interest and ability on the job. What do they really love to do? What are they really good at?
Okay.
All right. That's really important because now you're discussing something that they're proud of. Okay.
Okay.
Now
Hmm.
this is not anything that's going to hold up in court. This is not anything that's medical. I created these two questions so that parents could prevent going to spend $5,000 on a neuropsychological evaluation for their kids. But it also works good for adults. It gives you a general framework that's about 90% accurate.
Okay.
Okay. So what you do is once you find out their speciality, you ask them this specific question, and you're going to want to replay this until you get this down perfectly. In your speciality, whatever that is, do you have ideas flying around your head at light speed? Key question, but with little to no organization. All right. So you're asking about what they're really good at, but when you ask them that question, it's kind of like what they've been living with, and they're going to tell you. And it's going to be yes or no. Okay. This is not something that's a gray area. If it's yes, that's going to tell you that they're probably ADD, ADHD, or mildly dyslexic.
Okay.
Now, go ahead.
Either now or later, I want you to tell me what the three differences are. Dyslexic, mildly dyslexic, ADHD, and ADD. Not right. Yes, that's what you
Right.
said. Yeah.
Okay. And then just determine if it's severe dyslexia.
Mm-hmm.
What you ask in their speciality, this is key, whatever it is, when you're thinking about writing about it, fingers, keyboard, fingers, keyboard. I'm literally showing my fingers up by my head and then going to a keyboard, up by my head, going to the keyboard. I do that twice. I ask, once you have an idea you want to write about in your speciality, it's in your head, you take your fingers, you put it on the keyboard. Does the idea fly out of your brain, leaving you with an empty head?
That's a yes or no question as well.
That's a yes or no. It's them or it's not them. This is not a gray area. If it's no, but they answered yes to the first question, it's mild, it's ADD, ADHD, or mild dyslexia. If they say yes to the second question and the first, it's a pretty bad case of dyslexia.
So what you're
Okay.
trying to identify is obviously the first one. Are you a genius, but your mind's not letting it be organized? The second
Right.
question is, are you able to take that information, your ideas, I guess, and put them down in some sort of writing or either
Oh no,
digital?
no. I'm specifically asking in the second question. They put
Yeah.
their fingers on the keyboard, and that action causes the idea in their head to fly out, leaving them with an empty brain.
Why is that? Because the fingers on
The science is incredibly complicated, but the
Okay.
key thing is they put the fingers on the keyboard, it flies out of their head, leaving them with an empty brain. If they say yes to that, number one, they're going to be shocked that you knew that about them.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to give you a general, vague understanding of what you're probably dealing with.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
So the first question, if it's yes and no,
Mm-hmm.
ADD means that they have a problem doing something that they don't like doing.
Okay.
Okay. So, in other words, you're not, if you go and ask them to become an Excel expert, they're going to rebel, but they're in the construction trade. They're doing something that they want to do. That's why they're there.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
ADHD is their not only attention deficit disorder, they're very hyperactive. But if you're giving them something that they really love to do, they're very calm and extraordinarily focused. So any one of these two, what you're going to want to find out is what they're really good at, what they really enjoy. And as much as possible, put them in those activities.
Okay.
Okay. Or it's mild dyslexia. By that, I mean, from a treatment perspective, from a functional perspective, ADD, ADHD, and mild dyslexia are all very similar in regards to the reading and writing ability.
And dyslexia, is that the reversal?
Yeah, that's where people think it's reversed. That's not actually what's happening. What's going on is the front part of our brain is so massively overactive,
Mm-hmm.
there's no organization.
It's confusing
Was-
itself, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
So the first thing that I did when I looked at the front part of the brain that deals with word analysis, followed by articulation, what I initially did is I just focused on articulation and forcing the brain to organize itself by using writing as a measurable output. And then we just ran those kids through that again and again and again with graduate level material. And before you know it, months later, the increase was just bigger than anything else in the history of dyslexia education. All right. But here, what I'm trying to recommend is how to work with this. You're not going to be sending these guys to remedial reading and writing classes. You can't afford it. They don't want to do it. All right, I'm just
Well, that
trying to
makes
give
sense.
you I'm just trying to give you a ballpark.
Reality check here. Yeah.
Yeah, of where we are. Now, if they say yes to both questions, you're dealing with somebody with a really bad case of dyslexia. Okay. Their reading and writing challenges are going to be extraordinary. Okay. The other ones are going to be mild. If they say answer yes to both questions, they're extraordinary.
All right. So before we get into this, let's say that a lot of my listeners are smaller companies. Not that I want to get rid of anybody, but is that something more than they probably could handle? Is the severe dyslexia?
Oh, if you try to just get rid of them because of
not get rid. No, not get rid of them.
I'm not saying that. Just a warning across everybody. You ask those questions and then you try to dump them because of that. The government will sue you out of business for violation of the ADA case. Okay.
So is there government help to deal with this type of
there are
situation, I guess?
In New York State, it's called Access VR. There are significant programs to try to help with this. It's quite frankly a real pain in the neck. And I want to give you a solution that'll help out your employees, save you a bunch of money, and just make things a lot more efficient so you don't get all these paperwork errors to begin with.
All right. So last question before we get into the solution, because everybody, we talked obviously before we started recording, and I do like his solution, and I'm kind of intrigued by it. But do you find this we talked about say the 20%, up to 20%. Is it across the board in any industry or trade, or you find it more in certain areas?
What you're going to find with the trades is, a big part of my business is I train parents to teach their kids to get past all this stuff and to get them through as you know, with a lot of things, the trades now are going through a community college because it's this isn't our granddad's factory jobs now. Now it's advanced manufacturing. I'm familiar with that because my mentor started that in the Albany, New York area 25 years ago. All right. Now, I mean, those jobs are paying 60 grand to start and 120 grand 10 years in. It's very lucrative. Plus, what you need to be an electrician or a welder or a plumber, it's just extraordinary. It's a 2-year degree now.
Sure.
So I would train the parents to work with the kids to increase their writing to the point where they can function at the community college level. Did that all the time, so that's the population that we're dealing with here. So when there's ways of addressing the problem, but honestly, most small contractors just don't have the budget for it, and honestly, a lot of the guys aren't interested in it at that point. What you will find with them is again finding out what their specialty is and placing them in those roles. You're going to find that overactive front part of the brain, think about it, 2.5 times the thinking horsepower, focused on that very narrow thing that they love doing. And you will find that they will be probably by far your best employee in that area.
They just have a difficulty communicating with the others. Is that right?
They have a difficulty communicating and doing the paperwork. Eyes out the way that they are. And you're going to get a mess of the paperwork, and then the contract's off, everything's backed up, nobody knows what's going on, everybody's upset, they're embarrassed. That's what I want to try to give you a solution to address that.
Well, that's a perfect way to lead into that. So we're trying to help them focus on what they love doing, and then help them communicate with paperwork and just communication in general to the people who need that information from them. And how would you suggest doing that? That's
first
economical.
First of all, what I would try to suggest is for these employees, if you can, keep them just doing find out what they love doing, what's their specialty, and keep them on that. Try not to send them out to do paperwork. When you have to do paperwork, Narrow that down to what absolutely has to be done. I'm going to throw something at people and you're going to roll your eyes, but then I'm going to tell you how to actually do it. It's called using artificial intelligence. All right. And you have, and just, my background in this. When OpenAI ChatGPT owners came out with a $200 a month pro plan in December of 2024, I bought it that day. And I used it through last December. Then I got what I needed with a $20 a month plan. I moved over to Claude Opus 4.6 now, just because that's what it's 85% of their clients are business people. And I get really good business writing product out with that. So this is for actually getting work done. This isn't making three-legged cat videos. It doesn't create pictures. It's just about business owners getting work done. Faster and more efficiently. So they came out a couple of months ago with something called Co-work. All right. So
the Claude did.
Yeah, the Claude. It's called Opus 4.6 Co-work. All right. They have plans at $20 a month, $100 a month, and $200 a month. Honestly, if you're going to use this for any meaningful time, it's probably $100 a month. I spent $200 because I'm on it all day, and it's more than worth it for me. It allows my employees to stop doing all this intellectual grunt work and to be in front of customers a lot more, answering their questions. All right. So what I would do in Co-work, and you can do this in an afternoon once you start playing with and figure out how, you go in and you create your own app, your own application for the apps, for the paperwork that your learning diverse employees have to do. Find out exactly what that is. Then go in and tell it exactly what you need, and it will literally create it for you.
So first, we're trying to minimize the paperwork they need to fill out.
Right.
The stuff they must fill out, we can go into this AI Co-work and tell it what you need, and then help them fill it out.
No, it'll give you exactly what you need. So what you're going to want to do is ask them. You can put in, it's talking feature. What are the fields that have to get filled in? Have it do it with you talk it types. Then have it double check their work, and then have it submitted to your office. Give them an iPad. They don't need an expensive iPad. A cheap one is fine. All right. And they can just go around filling out that paperwork, and then it's submitted and it's done correctly. Now, these customized apps 5 years ago would have cost you $100,000, $1 million. I don't know.
All day expensive. Yes.
Yeah. Something. And now you can do it yourself in an afternoon.
Is it easier for those who have this disability or learning disability to answer multiple choice questions? I mean, some of them.
Not particularly. It's how do I put it? Best analogy I can give you for sports. The sport that I suck at is basketball. Okay. One of my clients called me the foreman because I threw so many bricks. I couldn't even hit it. Okay. What sport do you really stink at?
Oh,
I mean, just horrible.
Golf.
Okay. Imagine your entire financial future depended on your ability to play golf.
Oh my. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to get you the best golf coach in the world for the next 6 months, give you the best equipment. And then the person you're going to compete against is really good. They played in college, Division I. We're going to give them used Walmart equipment. Is it going to matter?
Probably not.
Okay.
I mean,
practice for 6 months with the best coach, and then you had the best equipment. They're using used Walmart equipment. Is it going to matter in the least?
You might see some negligible, but I don't think so. I mean, it's going to help, obviously, but
they're still going to crush you.
They're natural. Yeah, they're naturals. Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing that's like asking a dyslexic to fill out paperwork, or ADD or ADHD to fill out paperwork.
Yeah.
There are ways of fixing it, but fixing it's going to take 6 to 12 months.
Gotcha.
Okay. And that's really not in your bailiwick. So what you're going to want to do is find out what the absolute paperwork is required. And then you can go and create a custom app knowing exactly what you need to do. And you just tell cowork, here's what you do, but make sure you're using Opus 4.6 or the latest Opus model. And it's going to burn a lot of tokens, but that's why I suggest you do the $100 a month thing. And then when you're done, you can cancel it for later. And it's still a lot cheaper than any other solution. Then you bring the employee in and you say, I understand that this has been kind of difficult. Here's how we're going to make it easier. You talk to the form, fills it out, you make sure it double checks it. You can drop it to like $20 a month for an ongoing basis, because that's all you probably really need. And then it's submitted and everybody's happy. And this is how you frame it. Now you can get back to doing what you love to do, your specialty, what you're really good at. This is just the minimum we need to keep the business going. And now you're solving that. And if you frame it in that regard, one of the big things I'm trying to do is keep you out of court. All right. You find out what they're good at. You try to focus on that. Now we have the minimum paperwork. You create a specific application that not only makes sure it's accurate for you, they fill it out faster, the numbers are better, and they're back doing things that are actually making you money.
There you go.
Doing what they like. If you're ever looked at, because I said I spent years in law school learning to read and write. Right? If they ever come through and look at this, even if you're in the most regulated state, New York, all right, this will make things like you hit all the high points, and and your workers feel empowered and not disrespected. You're clean as a whistle. Okay, because I have seen construction companies that would do dyslexia tests and then, oh, you're dyslexic, and then they're fired. And then literally the federal government comes in.
Yeah.
And they literally put them out of business with the investigation, all that. Half their time was taken up with this thing.
What's based on the ADA law, right?
Yeah. And what it basically said when they passed that, they literally went to the government and they said, do you realize what you're doing here? And, the effect this is going to have on places. And it's extraordinary. And they said, yes, this is what we want to do. So the main thing is, if you go through this way, and if it's ever reviewed, you're trying to spot, you're trying to put them in places that they're better off, their specialty, as much as reasonably possible. Okay. Sure. And if then you find out what their second, third, fourth thing, and you can generally keep them in most of those areas. But the paperwork is this overcomes their problem with paperwork by empowering them, and it fits all the underlying public policy that underlies the ADA. Just remember, laws are just words on a page. They were created for a reason. If you faithfully try to execute that reason, the people that review this, the government bureaucrats, or if it comes to a judge, they're like, okay, you tried not only to follow the letter, but the key word is the spirit of the legislation. It goes a really long way. The judges hate you follow the letter, but try to avoid the spirit.
Right.
Okay.
And like you said, these are some of your best employees. They're just causing frustration that you don't know how to overcome. And
Right.
It seems like a very reasonable, inexpensive solution compared to like years ago where you had to have people do what the AI is going to do.
Oh yeah. And there's just no way you could no way could you spend $1 million to get this created for yourself 5 years ago. I mean, no way.
Or even hire another person to do, even fill out the paper, follow them around.
Yeah, and
then
then you're literally out of the thing about the accommodation is if it becomes the employee or something that's going to put you out of business, you're not expected to make unreasonable accommodations.
Yep.
But this also gets things done quicker for you and gets the information, because what they're filling out is the essence of your contract.
Yep.
Okay. The meeting of the minds. And for somebody who's been through contracts at law school, I can tell you, you want to get this done correctly. And so it helps out with that as well. What I've noticed with some of the businesses through different industries that I've recommended this to, just so everybody knows, this is my 202nd podcast on Podmatch where we met since April. So I've been discussing a lot of things with a lot of businesses.
Quite busy, yes.
So what they found is it's just so much more accurate. It's saving a lot of time, and that's where the AI is. What you need to understand is the models as of February of 2026, especially Opus 4.6, are so powerful that any more improvements for most of us is relatively meaningless. It's just an efficiency gain. They are now so powerful. If you're with all this paperwork that you're doing, using these things and making I don't recommend you go the agent route and have them do all your work for you. I say you have them do the grunt work and you approve everything. Okay. It'll just get things done so much quicker, so much better. And you need to look at everything to make sure it's done correctly. And it'll just give you much more free time, because a lot of you guys, what are you putting in? 60, 80-hour weeks?
Oh, hopefully not, because well, if they are, they need to talk to me about it, because we want to get out of that hard hat and get back to that CEO thing. But that's the whole point of trying to do what we're talking about today, is make our people more efficient.
Yeah, and specifically co-work, it's still in a research preview.
Yeah,
but it's just improving so quickly. This will allow you to shed so much work. Like, for example, there are certain tasks that I do that I used to spend 2-3 hours a day on. I just give it to co-work. I check the results, and I'm down to about 15 minutes.
Last question. Does co-work actually talk to you, or does it help with the reading part?
Okay, here's the key thing. If you're going to have it talk to them, you're talking about the non-really thinking part of Claude. Opus is just the highest model. When you're creating it, don't talk to it, unless if you're like on my Apple, I can hit a button and I talk, it types from my laptop. Okay. When you're using Opus 4.6, type with it or use your microphone key thing and dictate it. Okay. When you're actually using it, I would use I think it begins with an H, whatever one it is, where it will talk back to you. That one doesn't think very well. It does the very basics.
But it does read the questions or whatever.
It does read to it, but it does. Opus 4.6 thinks very deeply. It's things you can go back and forth with a conversation. When you're doing it on the app where you talk to it, don't do anything where it requires it to really think independently. It's simply filling things in like it's somebody doing data entry, not somebody that's using anything associated with their brain.
Understood.
Besides just the mechanical stuff. Yes.
Awesome. Well, Russell, thank you for your day. How would people get a hold of you if you have more deeper questions about what we didn't discuss?
Best thing to do is just go to my website, dyslexiaclasses.com. That's with an S, dyslexiaclasses.com. There's a form there that says contact me. Just fill that out and I'll get right back to you within 24 hours.
And as always, we'll also put that link in the bottom of the show notes here. And guys, we appreciate it. Russell, I'm intrigued by everything we talked about today. I never really thought this would be a discussion, but it really is important, especially when we have people out there, we can make them, help them, and help your guys be more efficient. So this is Chris G, Hard Hat and CEO. You guys be with you till we meet again. Bye-bye.